Welcome to the Nurture Network podcast, where motherhood meets transformation. I'm Jess Baldenhofer, certified parent coach, educator, and mom on a mission to help you move beyond overwhelm and create a deeper connection with your kids and yourself. Each episode is packed with real tools, relatable stories, and the support you deserve. Let's dive in and take another step toward the peaceful, fulfilling parenting journey you've been searching for. Welcome back to the Nurture Network, the podcast where we explore the emotional life of parenting and help you come home to yourself in the process. I'm Jess, a parent coach, educator, and fellow mom. And today we are diving into a topic that honestly is one of the most important ones I can bring to you. And here it is. What if I don't actually enjoy motherhood the way I thought I would? Now, just hearing me say those words out loud might make you feel something, might make you feel guilt, shame, a pang of maybe even relief from hearing something that you feel, maybe even a little panicked. Because the story we're fed is that motherhood is supposed to be the happiest, most fulfilling, most natural role we'll ever step into. We're told, cherish every moment. These are the best years. If you're not loving it, you must be missing something. But here's what I know from coaching so many moms and from living it myself. Many mothers have this exact thought. They carry it inside. They whisper it to me in coaching sessions like it's a confession. I love my child, but I don't love this. I'm not enjoying it. Why do I feel this way? And that's exactly why this is the perfect episode for the Nurture Network. This podcast is a safe place, a place where you can admit the things you don't feel safe admitting at a playgroup or school pickup, a place where you can bring the feelings you've been stuffing down and know that you're not going to be judged for them and that you can listen to the episode and process some of those feelings. Because when moms can't admit the feelings that are coming up, when we pretend they're not there, when we block ourselves from our own experience, we then block ourselves from getting the support we need or even just processing the feelings that are coming up. We miss the chance to understand what these feelings are even telling us, and we stay stuck in guilt and shame instead of moving towards healing and connection. So today, I want you to hear me say this. If you don't enjoy motherhood some of the time, all the time, or the way you thought you would, you are not broken. You are not a bad mom. You're human. And the feelings you're having are not a sign of failure. They're actual signals. Signals from your body and your heart that something deeper is happening and that maybe you're not integrated. The real you might not be integrated with your role as a mother. We're going to unpack all of it together. I'll share my own story of how I started out as a mom. We'll talk about the science of what's happening in your nervous system when parenting feels overwhelming. We'll look at the patterns most of us inherited from childhood. We'll talk about how our kids actually know more than we do about how emotions come up and how we can learn from them. And then I'll walk you through practical steps you can take to start reclaiming joy, not by fixing every problem, but by reconnecting with yourself. So let's take a deep breath together. Inhale and exhale. You are safe here, so let's begin. When I first became a mom, I thought I was doing everything right. I controlled every single little experience for my son. His food, his toys, his environment. I read the books. I researched everything obsessively. Organic snacks, Montessori-style toys, wooden blocks instead of plastic. The most enriching books I could find. And I was serious about being mindful and intentional. And to be honest, in some ways, it felt good. It made me feel safe. Also, I'm sure my hypervigilance to every detail of his life benefited him in some ways. And that safety just made me feel like if I did all the right things, if I checked all the boxes, then he would be okay and I would be okay too. I told myself, I'm being a good mom, I'm doing what's best for him, and this is what motherhood is. But what I didn't realize at the time was that I was completely out of tune with myself and my own experience. I wasn't connected to my own body. I wasn't paying attention to my own healing postpartum. I wasn't paying attention to my own needs. I wasn't noticing my feelings. I wasn't in a flow with my child. There were moments where I was, but so much of how I was approaching parenting was more about control. I was managing the environment. I was managing the optics, what people would think, what society expected. And inside, I was drowning in the shoulds. The shoulds for him. He should be eating this. He should be learning that. He should be behaving this way in public. The shoulds for me. I should never yell. I should always be patient. I should bounce back quickly. I should be grateful all the time. I'm sure you can relate to this. It was a constant drumbeat of shoulds. And the truth is that left me feeling alien in my own life, disconnected, like I was performing motherhood instead of actually embodying it and living it. I remember one night so clearly. My son was about 2. He had finally fallen asleep after what felt like an endless bedtime. And I was sitting on the couch, just scrolling on my phone. And I suddenly thought, why doesn't this feel better? I did everything right today. I followed all the rules. So why am I so tired, so empty, so joyless? And that question haunted me. Why don't I enjoy this more? The answer, which I didn't understand at the time, but have come to see so clearly now, is that when you're disconnected from your own experience, when you're not tuned into your own needs, your own body, your own feelings, and you don't have a practice of taking care of yourself, it's almost impossible to feel joy. Joy can't survive in disconnection. So, when we talk about why joy feels so hard in motherhood, we can't just stop at guilt or cultural pressure. We need to go deeper into the science of what's happening in our body. Because the truth is, it's not just in our heads, it's in our nervous system. Your nervous system has one primary job: to scan for safety constantly. Every moment of every day, even when you're not aware of it, your body is asking, am I safe right now or am I under threat? When your nervous system perceives safety, you feel calmer, you feel open, you feel connected. This is when joy and play and curiosity become possible. But when your nervous system senses threat, it instantly shifts you into survival mode: fight, flight, or freeze. Now, the tricky part in motherhood: threat doesn't look like a tiger in the jungle. It looks like your baby screaming in the middle of the night and waking you up from sleep when you're already exhausted. It looks like your toddler having a full-blown meltdown at Target while strangers give you side eye. It looks like your 8-year-old telling you, you're the worst mom ever. It can even be as subtle as your mother-in-law raising an eyebrow or another mom's perfect Instagram post that makes you question yourself. Your nervous system doesn't distinguish. It reacts to all of these as stress signals. And here's what happened. Your body floods with stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, and your heart rate picks up. Your muscles tighten, your breathing gets shallow, and your thinking brain, the part that allows you to feel joy, to access empathy, to problem solve calmly, it actually shuts down. This is why you can love your child with every fiber of your being and still not enjoy motherhood in these moments. It's not because you're failing, it's because your body is in fight or flight. Joy literally isn't accessible in that state. Let me give you a few scenarios where you might feel this in your body. Scenario 1, I hear this from my clients all the time, is the bedtime battle. It's 9 p.m., you've read 3 stories, you've sung 2 songs, you've tucked them in twice. You've also probably been doing a million things all day and you're probably exhausted by this time. You might be hearing your child say, I need water, I need one more hug. You feel your jaw clench, your chest tighten, and that voice in your head says, you may be saying to your child, why can't you just stay in bed? I can't take this anymore. That's your nervous system screaming, unsafe, unsafe, unsafe. Things are not going the way you want, which is making you unsafe. You expect your child to stay in bed, but they keep calling for you or they keep coming out. That is also making you feel unsafe because things are not going the way you expected. And you're burnt out on top of everything. You're exhausted, you're tired at the end of the day, and that is what makes you feel burnt out. Scenario 2, the grocery store meltdown. You say no to candy and your toddler drops to the floor, kicking and screaming. People are staring, maybe someone mutters under their breath, and inside you, the panic rises. Everyone thinks I'm a terrible mom. I have to make this stop. Your nervous system is scanning the room like you're on trial, even though rationally you know it's just a tantrum. My child is young. This happens all the time. But your nervous system is saying something different. Scenario 3, the morning rush. You're already late. One child can't find their shoes. Another refuses to put on their jacket. You're juggling lunches, backpacks, emails. Your heart is pounding. Your face is hot. And before you know it, you're snapping or yelling. Not because you don't love your children, but because your body has gone into fight or flight. Can you feel those moments in your own life? That tightening, that pressure, that rising panic, that anger that comes up. That's your nervous system trying to protect you. Now, here's the science behind it. There's something called polyvagal theory. You don't need to memorize the jargon, but it basically explains how your nervous system has different states. When you feel safe, when you're in what's called the ventral vagal state, this is the state of connection. It's where play lives, it's where joy lives, where you can laugh with your kids, be patient, and actually enjoy being a mom. But when your nervous system senses threat, you drop into fight or flight. You get angry, snappy, controlling, or frantic. And if the stress feels overwhelming and you can't fight or run, you drop even lower into shutdown. That's the numbness, the checking out, the going through the motions. Here's the most important part. You can't access joy when you're in survival mode. It's not available to you. And that's not a flaw, it's biology. There's another piece too, mirror neurons. These are brain cells that make us feel what we see in others. This is why when your child is screaming, your body feels like it's screaming too. Their dysregulation becomes your dysregulation. Their big emotions flood your system. So imagine this, your child is losing it, screaming, crying, thrashing. Their nervous system is already dysregulated. And your mirror neurons say danger. Your body starts to mirror that chaos. Unless you have tools to regulate, you both spiral. That's why parenting can feel so unsafe in your body because it's not just their meltdown. It's your nervous system reliving it with them. And here's the kicker. Most of us came into motherhood already carrying nervous systems that were primed for stress. We did not grow up learning how to sit with emotions. We grew up being told to calm down, to stop crying, to be good. We were trained to keep the adults around us comfortable, which means our bodies learned emotions equal danger. So when your child is having big feelings now, your nervous system says, this isn't safe, fix it, stop it, make it go away. But our kids don't need us to fix or stop. They need us to stay, to be steady, to help them ride the wave. That's the biology of why joy feels so out of reach sometimes in motherhood. And I know that was like a bit of science jargon, but it's important to understand what's happening with your actual body that's affecting your levels of burnout and disconnection from yourself and your child. It's not just because you're like ungrateful, it's because your nervous system is wired for survival. So now that we've talked about the nervous system, I want to zoom out and look at where so much of this starts because the way we experience motherhood today isn't just about what's happening with our kids, it's deeply connected to what happened in our own childhoods. Most of us, maybe you too, were not taught how to sit with our emotions when we were young. We weren't encouraged to let feelings come up and move through us. Instead, we were trained, many of us, if this isn't you, you're lucky, but many of us were trained, often without words, to push those feelings down. Think about the phrases you might have heard growing up. Stop crying, you're fine. Don't make a scene. Be good. Don't talk back. Does any of that sound familiar? So we learned that emotions weren't safe. We learned that the way to get love, the way to feel secure was to perform. We were motivated by external approval, grades, gold stars, the smile on a parent's face when we behaved. Some of us even learned to keep everything small and quiet and, almost invisible so as to not upset a volatile parent. We learn to push past our own needs in order to please the adults around us. And let's be real, many of us learned to walk on eggshells. We learned to manage our parents' moods. If I do everything right, they won't get mad. If I stay quiet, they won't blow up. If I get perfect grades, if I keep the peace, then maybe I'll be safe. Maybe then I'll be loved. And that becomes the hamster wheel of doing what's expected, doing what earns approval, doing in order to be okay. And this permeates many parts of our life. But here's the thing, that hamster wheel doesn't stop when we become adults. We carry it into motherhood. We think if I do everything right, if the house is clean, if the kids are well behaved, if the lunches are packed, if the milestones are met, then I'll feel good. Then I'll feel like a good mom. Then I'll feel joy. But the truth is that just doesn't work with kids, especially when we're not teaching our kids to be externally focused and fear motivated like we were. If your child has all their clothes put away and their room is spotless, if you buy them every toy on their wish list, that's not what makes them feel connected to you. That's not what makes them feel safe. What makes them feel close to you is your presence, your attunement, your ability to sit with them and their feelings, even the messy ones, your ability to empathize and understand them, and also just your ability to keep the train on the tracks for them. So let me give you an example. Your 6-year-old is frustrated with their homework. They throw their pencil across the room and shout, "I hate this." If you were raised to perform for love, your body might instantly panic. You might think, this isn't okay. I have to make them stop. They can't throw a pencil. They can't fail at school. What will this mean later in life? So maybe you snap back. Don't talk to me that way. You're not allowed to throw a pencil. Sit down and finish your work. That's the hamster wheel talking, right? That's the part of you that learned, if I do what's expected, I'll be loved. If I control this moment, everything will be okay. And also, you're sort of grasping in those moments for what to even say or do because your child is dysregulated and you're dysregulated. But where your child actually needs is your steady presence. They need you to notice the frustration, not the pencil throwing. And to help them move through it, give them tools for moving through it, and not demand perfection. This balance is tricky and not easy. But this is what they need. And this is what we need too. The things that we have to do for ourselves, and then the things that we have to teach them. Another scenario is, picture a toddler in the middle of a meltdown. You say no to the cookie and they lose it. Red face, flailing limbs, wails echoing through the kitchen. If you grew up learning to appease adults, your body might read this as unsafe. You might think, I have to make this stop. If they're upset, I'm failing. If I give them the cookie, they'll calm down. Or if I'm going to stick to not giving the cookie, but then I'm going to be mad at them for being upset. Either way, those are my two choices. But kids aren't looking for that. They're looking for connection. They don't need you to give them everything they want, but they're also looking to just experience their feelings. And so not every moment of them doing that has to be about connection, but they are looking for your regulated, steady presence to support them through that emotion. They need you to be steady with them while they feel, while they are embodied in what their experience is. And this is where it gets really interesting. Our children are actually showing us the very thing that we were never allowed to practice. They're showing us how to feel big feelings, how to let them come up, how to express them fully, how to let them move through the body. But because of our childhoods, these very moments feel like danger to us. Their emotions activate our old conditioning. Our nervous system says, stop it, fix it, control it. So what happens? Motherhood starts to feel bad, disconnected. We're not flowing with our kids. We're trying to manage them the way we were managed. And that's why joy feels so far away, because joy doesn't live on the hamster wheel. Here's the hopeful part. Once you see this pattern, you can begin to shift it. You can step off the hamster wheel. You can stop sort of needing to manage all these little things and fix all these little things and start practicing presence. It's not easy because it goes against decades of conditioning, but it is possible. And every time you choose to pause, breathe, and stay with your child instead of trying to fix or appease, you're not just changing the moment, you're rewriting the script that you were handed. And that's really powerful. Now that we've looked at our childhoods and how we learn to perform for love, I want to turn towards our kids because here's the beautiful, messy, amazing truth. Our children are our teachers. When it comes to emotions, they actually know more than we do, like in their bodies, not in their thinking brains. Watch a toddler for a day. They wake up excited. Then they melt down because you gave them the wrong color cup. They cry hard, red face, full body, tears streaming. 5 minutes later, they're giggling over blocks or chasing bubbles. That's embodiment. Their bodies know how to let emotions rise, peak, and then pass. They don't get stuck in thinking, should I be bad? Should I be mad? What will people think of me if I cry? Am I overreacting? They don't label feelings as bad or too much. They just feel them and then they move on. Children are naturally in tune with their bodies. They stomp when they're mad. They squeal when they're happy. They collapse in your lap when they're tired. Their emotions live in their bodies and their bodies know what to do with them. But while kids are good at feeling, they don't yet have the tools to regulate. Their nervous systems are still developing. The part of the brain that helps them calm down, think logically, and self regulate isn't fully online yet. That's why they need us. They need co regulation. They need a parent's nervous system to borrow from. It's one of the most important jobs we have as parents, not to stop the emotions, not to fix them, but to stay steady while our kids move through them. And here's where it circles back to us because many of us never got that. So when our kids have big feelings now, it doesn't just trigger us in the moment, it reactivates all the times we weren't allowed to feel. But what if instead of shutting them down, we let them be our teachers? What if we let their full body tantrums remind us that feelings are just energy moving through? What if we let their giggles remind us that joy is in the body, not in the performance? What if we let their quick recovery show us that emotions don't last forever? They crest and fall like waves. When we use these tools, we don't just help ourselves, we help our kids too, because they're watching, they're learning, they're seeing how a human can feel big emotions and stay safe. So here's the paradox. Yes, kids need us to teach them tools, but in the process, they're teaching us too. They're teaching us to come back to our bodies, to stop fearing our feelings, to reconnect with the very part of us that got shut down long ago. And when we let them be our teachers, when we let ourselves learn alongside them, joy starts to return. Not the fake performative joy of, look at me, I'm doing it all right, but the real joy of being human together. So let's pause together for a moment. I want you to think back on the last week. Was there a bedtime battle, a grocery store meltdown, a chaotic morning, a homework standoff? Picture yourself in that moment. Close your eyes. Try to remember what was happening in your body. Did your chest tighten? Did your thoughts race? Did you feel the urge to yell? Did you blame yourself? Did you give in? Did you shut it all down? Now ask yourself gently, what story was I carrying from my own childhood in that moment? Was I thinking, I have to perform, I have to control, I have to appease? Then ask, what would it have felt like to pause, to take one breath, to name out loud, this is hard. I'm here. We'll get through it together. You don't have to have done it perfectly. You don't even have to have done it at all. Just imagine it because that imagining plants a seed. That's how change starts. by noticing, by reflecting, by giving yourself permission to see the moment differently. We've walked through the nervous system, our childhood roots, the way our kids embody emotions, and the everyday scenarios that pull us out of ourselves. Now I want us to just pause and talk about joy itself, because part of the problem is that we've been sold the wrong definition of joy in motherhood. From the time we get pregnant, we're told a story. Motherhood is supposed to be blissful, magical, every moment precious. You're supposed to feel overflowing love. You're supposed to want to be with your children all the time. The cultural script says, these are the best years of your life. And if you don't feel that way, well, then something must be wrong with you. So when you find yourself snapping at bedtime or dreading mornings or feeling numb in the middle of chaos, guilt and shame piles on. You think, I should love this more. You also tell yourself that you must be doing it wrong if you're not loving it. And that is a lie. Joy in motherhood does not mean loving every moment. It never has, and it never will. The truth is, motherhood is both and. It is beautiful and exhausting. It is fulfilling and draining. It's full of wonder and full of monotony. You can adore your child and sometimes dread the tasks of parenting. You can feel deep gratitude and deep frustration in the very same day, even in the same moment. And none of that makes you a bad mom. It makes you human. So let's reframe. Let's take joy down off the impossible pedestal and put it back where it belongs, in the ordinary, messy, imperfect connection of real life. Joy in motherhood is not about having the Instagram ready house or the well-behaved child or the perfectly balanced routine or about feeling happy all the time. Joy is about presence. It's about noticing the small sparks of connection, even in the hard moments. It's in the way your toddler's hand feels in yours on the walk to school. It's in the belly laugh your child lets out when you make a silly face at the dinner table. It's in the quiet relief of sitting next to your child as they finally fall asleep, knowing you got through the day together. Joy is not about eliminating frustration or banishing struggle. It's about letting all of it exist side by side. Love, anger, tenderness, exhaustion, pride, and doubt. Because your nervous system doesn't need you to love every moment. It just needs safety. And when you feel safe, when you breathe, when you slow down, when you take care of your body and your heart, when you let yourself be present, joy has room to show up when it needs to. Think of joy like sunlight. It's always there. Sometimes the clouds of stress, exhaustion, expectation, anger cover it up, but the sun hasn't gone anywhere. When you shift even slightly, when you create space for presence or a little bit of gratitude, you catch glimpses again. And here's another really important point. Joy is not just for your child's sake. It's for you. You deserve joy in your own life, not just as a mom, but as a person. And when you claim it, you're not stealing from your kid. You're giving them a gift because they learn what joy looks like. They learn that life is not just about doing and performing and admin, but about being and feeling and connecting. And if you've been telling yourself, I should enjoy this more, I want you to replace the thought with a new one. I can find moments of joy even here. I can let joy in, even when it's messy. I don't have to force it. I just have to notice it. That shift alone changes everything because now you're not chasing joy as a performance. You're allowing joy as an experience. All right. So by now we've laid the groundwork. We've talked about why joy can feel out of reach. We've reframed what joy actually is and how do we actually reclaim joy in our day-to-day life as moms. I want to give you some simple, concrete tools you can start using right away. Think of these as practices, not quick fixes. They're ways to gently support yourself so that you have more space for connection and more space for joy. Tool number 1, learn your own nervous system cues. The first step is awareness. Start noticing the signs that your body is sliding into survival mode. For you, it might be tightness in the chest, or it may be burning in your gut, or it may be a voice in your brain getting sharper. Maybe your thoughts start racing. I can't do this. This is too much. Why can't they just listen? When you notice these cues, pause. Even just noticing And then naming it to yourself. My body is in fight or flight right now is powerful because when you name it, you create a tiny bit of space between you and the reaction. And that space is where you can choose something different. And that space is where you connect to you first. So the second tool is build simple regulation practices. Once you notice your cues, the next step is to help your body feel safe again. And I don't mean elaborate routines. I mean simple things you can do in the middle of real life. Take 3 slow breaths in through your nose, out through your mouth. Put your hand on your chest and just feel your heartbeat. Step outside for 1 minute and let the air hit your face. Shake out your hands and arms, literally shaking out the tension. Stretch your body tall and then fold forward to reset. Even just feeling your feet on the ground in your shoes. If you can't go anywhere, if you can't do anything else, just being mindful of your feet on the ground. These might sound small, but they send a big message to your nervous system. You're safe. You are okay. You can settle. And from there, joy becomes possible again. Okay, so the next tool is to remember how our kids are masters at feeling. One of the best gifts we can give them is to show them what it looks like for an adult to feel a feeling and recover. So the next time you're frustrated, instead of snapping or stuffing it down, try narrating. I'm feeling frustrated, so I'm going to take a breath. Or I'm overwhelmed. I'm going to step into the other room for a minute. Your kids don't need a perfect mom. They need a human mom who shows them how to handle big feelings. That's how they learn that emotions aren't dangerous, they're manageable. So the next tool is to just try to create some micro moments of joy. So it's like instead of just struggling and surviving through the day and like hoping joy will come to you, we often think that it has to be big and then it's going to come to us. It's going to hit us like a wave. But real joy is kind of built on tiny moments and you can kind of be intentional about it. So I want you to practice noticing and savoring little things. That first sip of coffee in the morning, the sound of your child's laugh, a moment of quiet when the house is still, a song that makes you want to dance in the kitchen. When you notice these micro joys, just linger with them for half a minute. Let yourself feel them in your body because those tiny sparks build your capacity for joy over time. So the last tool is to try to reclaim your identity. One of the biggest drains on joy in motherhood is forgetting who you are outside of being a mom. So ask yourself, what lit me up before I had kids? Was it reading, painting, running, singing, spending time with my friends? Now, how can I bring back just a little of that? Maybe it's literally 5 minutes with a book in bed. Maybe it's doodling while your kids do homework. Maybe it's texting a friend instead of scrolling. Reclaiming your identity doesn't take away from your kids. It adds to your family because they get to see you alive and engaged in your own life. And that models joy for them too. So last tool, the next time your child is melting down, notice your instinct. Do I need to fix this? Do I need to appease this? Do I need to shut it down? Instead, try attunement. Get on their level and say, I see you. You're really upset. I'm here. As much as you can, remind yourself that when your child is struggling, it is just their humanness. It most of the time does not equal you are messing up in some way. So you're not necessarily going to give your kid everything they want. It just means you give them your presence. And that presence is what builds connection and brings you both joy. Finally, I want you to practice compassion for yourself because here's the truth. You won't do this perfectly. You'll still snap. You'll still get flooded. You'll still have days where joy feels far away. And that's okay. But every time you notice and pause and have a little understanding for yourself, that's growth. That's healing. That's you stepping off the hamster wheel and choosing something different. So the next time you mess up, and we all will because we're human, I want you to say to yourself, I'm learning, I'm growing, I get to try again. because joy is not about never failing. It's about creating space for yourself to be human and to connect anyway. These tools might sound simple, and that's the point. Joy isn't about doing more. It's about being more present. It's about shifting moment by moment from survival into connection. And when you practice these, not only do you reclaim joy for yourself, you teach your children what it looks like to live a life that isn't just about doing and performing, but about being and feeling. That's the real gift. So we've covered a lot today. We started with the hard truth that so many of us feel like we're not always enjoying motherhood the way we thought we would. And we named that this is a safe space to say that out loud. We walked through my story and we dug into the nervous system science, which is so important. Take a breath with me right now. You are not broken. You are not failing. If joy feels out of reach, it doesn't mean you're a bad mom. It means you've been in survival mode, and that makes sense. But you can shift, you can support your nervous system, you can step off the hamster wheel. And you deserve to feel joy in your life, not just for your kids' sake, but for your own. If this conversation has been helpful to you, and if you're thinking, yes, I want this, but I don't know how to start, I don't know how to shift these patterns on my own, I want to invite you to take the next step. I offer something called a parenting reset call. It's just a 30-minute session where we can check in on where you are, where you want to be, what your child's needs are, and we can map out a plan together. And then we can see if you want coaching and want to work together, because working together is not about giving another list of shoulds. It's about finding this reset for you, your child, your family, finding a path forward. You can find the link in the show notes. I would love to meet you there. If this episode resonated with you, would you do me a favor? Share it with another mom who might need to hear that she's not failing, that she's not broken, and joy is possible again. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Truly, it means so much that you carve out the time. Until next time, keep noticing, keep breathing, and keep giving yourself permission to be human in motherhood. I'll see you next time. Thanks for listening to the Nurture Network. If this episode resonated with you, subscribe so you won't miss the next one. Share it with a fellow mom who might need it too. Until next time, remember that nurturing yourself is the first step in nurturing your family.